Born in the Dominican Republic, she came to the U.S. as a teenager. She joined the U.S. Coast Guard when she was 18, and after an exciting 24-year challenging career, she retired with the rank of lieutenant. Today you'll find her knocking on doors in Wesley Chapel, where she has become OFA's super volunteer. You'll see her on TV ads, where she encourages the Hispanic community to help re-elect President Obama. Each day she wakes up and thinks, what can I do to help President Obama today? And so with that, I'd like to introduce Elena McCullough.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm so honored to be here at the All This Democratic Women Club. That's a privilege. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and spend some time with you. My name is Elena McCullough. When you run for office and you start speaking, you're automatic. My name is Elena McCullough, and you're used to going and I'm running for whatever. So whenever I go to speak anywhere, I always go, oh, my name is Elena McCullough, and I'm a super volunteer for President Barack Obama. I was born in Dominican Republic, and when I was in Dominican Republic, and I stayed there for a while, I came to the United States the first time when I was 9 years old. My dad brought me here, but I used to live in Dominican with my mother. So when I came to America, I was really excited to be in America, especially because I never tasted McDonald's French fries. and also because those shakes were amazing. I really also like Dunkin' Donuts. But when I went to New York City was different. It was big. It was so much stuff. But I just didn't feel as happy as I felt in Dominican. In Dominican, I could run, I could play, I could talk, I could just do things. And I begged my dad to please let me go back to Dominican and finish school. And he said, okay. So I went back to Dominican, and when I was in Dominican, I think somehow, maybe God knew that I was going to be running for office, and I like organizing things. So I was always organizing things. I was always involved in community service, but we didn't know that it was called community service. I was just helping people in my neighborhood. So I always thought that you could achieve anything if you work really hard. So I remember one day when the Pan American Games came to my little town, the athletes were marching, and we had this big team, and I thought, after the team left, I talked a few of my friends into maybe we need to start preparing for the next Pan American game, because I bought a little green ball, and I thought we could be on the next volleyball team. and I really totally believed that really could be possible. So I would say that I was kind of working on missions my whole life, kind of like preparing for whatever it was that I was going to do. So when I was 16, I came home one day, and I was coming home from school, and my mom said that I was going to be leaving to go to the United States to live with my aunt. And I said, Mom, do you remember that I just got my boyfriend? And she goes, that's very nice, but you are leaving to go to the Dominican Republic in about 2 weeks. So when I came to the United States, I came to live with my aunt in California, and I was really excited about being in California. California was a little bit more like Dominican Republic, especially with the weather. And I lived in San Diego, and so it was really neat going to school, or the football game. Like I never saw, I remember I was supposed to meet my friends one day when I first got to California, and they said, we'll meet by the lockers. And I saw these people with these outfits, and I had never seen that. I was like, oh my gosh, where am I? But it was a football game, and my aunt asked me quickly after I arrived, how are you going to take care of your mother when you turn 18? And I was like, oh, I didn't know I was on the plans. Okay, I said, I'm not quite sure yet. So I wrote my mom a letter and I said, I think she wants me to go back because she keeps asking me, how am I going to take care of you? So my mom said, well, you can't come back. You have to like do some kind of school or something. And I said, okay. So I was talking one day to this Army recruiter, and he said, oh, have you thought about joining the Army? And I was like, oh, the Army? And I said, well, I need to find a job and I need to help my mom. And he said, oh, if you join the Army, you will find a job. I said, would I have a place to live? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, cool, okay. And you could go to school. So I was like, that's perfect. I'll join the Army. So the next time I talked to my aunt, she said, okay, so have you thought about how you're going to take care of your mom? I'm like, oh, I got a plan. I'm going to join the Army. And she goes, the Army? Why the Army? And I said, well, the recruiter told me they'll give me a place to live. I'll be able to have money, and I'll be able to help my mom. And she said, okay. So her and her husband talked, and they said, we think you should join the Coast Guard. And I was like, the Coast Guard? And I was like, they don't even have TV commercial. So she said, you know, the Coast Guard is much smaller, and we think that it would be good for you. So I said, okay. So I talked to the recruiter, and I remember asking one day, she said, make sure you tell them you don't know how to swim. And I said, excuse me, I don't know how to swim. And they said, don't worry, they'll teach you that a basic training. And they would always talk about basic training, which to me, because I had only lived in America for about a year and a half, you know, I just knew technical kind of things, you know. So I was going to basic training to learn the basic. The problem was they forgot to tell me I was going to boot camp. So I didn't know about this boot camp thing until the day I got it. And it was just quite shocking to me. I didn't know you could live with 5 hours of sleep. And so on. So I remember you get to make one phone call, and I call my aunt, and I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea how mean these people are. And she said, you'll be okay. And so like on the Monday, they said, okay, it's time to go swimming. So I'm like, okay. And I said, I'm really scared to tell somebody, all the yelling and all the screaming, you know. Oh my God, now I gotta tell them I don't know how to swim. So they're like, if you think you can't make it, you can go on this side of the pool. So I went on that side of the pool, and then they said, well, this is the deal. If you learn how to swim in 3 days, you get to leave on time. Otherwise, you have to stay here 1 more week. So I learned how to swim. So after boot camp, I travel a lot. I started as an E1, and I worked my way up. And I worked and I moved around. I went to Alaska, and if you're stationed in Alaska, you can't get a suntan even if you block the wind. But I made great friends, and I was able to grow professionally and learn many things. I was stationed in Puerto Rico, in LA, and then when I was in LA, I always I felt like the Coast Guard was just perfect for me because it was a mission. It was a working together to make things happen. It was a give it your all for something that you totally believe. So I had my family, and then my wonderful husband, Ray, who's so supportive and kind, while I was in the Coast Guard. And I just really, really enjoyed my career, moving around, but more than anything, working for something bigger than just me. And the Coast Guard taught me that regardless of what you put your mind to, you really can do it. You just gotta work hard. So I think in reality, you know, Dominican and the Coast Guard were really preparing me to be involved in politics, working on missions, making things happen. So anyway, so that's kind of like what went on with the Coast Guard. And then one day, one of my supervisors, you have a lot of mentors, said to me that I should go to officer school. And I said, oh no, I don't like officers, you know, they're always demanding and so on. And then he showed me the pay chart. And that was the trick. $600 more every month. I said, where do I sign up for that? And so I went to college at nighttime so that I could be, I didn't want to feel like I wasn't like a real officer because I didn't have school. So I went to college at nighttime, and I got my degree, and I eventually was selected to go to officer candidate school. So I went to boot camp 2 times, not once but twice, and the second time I had to stay there 16 weeks, very long weeks. So after I finished OCS, I started working in the marine safety field, and that was very interesting. I worked in the ships, I worked in the ports, and I had a very, very successful career. And on September 11th, I was leading a major exercise here in the Port of Tampa. The Port of Tampa was my favorite unit. It was so beautiful here, and we decided when we came here that this was going to be our home. I did 2 years in Miami, and I inspected ships. I did facility inspection and those big Mackenzie trucks. I know how to inspect those, so that was pretty cool. When I retired from the Coast Guard, I retired in 2004, everybody asked me, so what are you going to do? And I always thought that politics was interesting, so I said, I'm going to do political stuff. So I became a big volunteer for the John Kerry campaign, and I was really shocked because my husband called me like around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and he said, why are you still out on election night? And I'm like, oh, because we got things to do. And he's like, honey, he loves Florida. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that we had lost Florida. So I was so disappointed, but excited because I had learned a lot about politics. So then in 2007, when President Obama, then candidate, came to Ybor City, I was just thrilled. And I had heard him in 2004 when he gave his speech, and he just truly touched my heart. So they opened an office in Dade City, Florida. So the day that I saw they opened an office in Dade City, Florida, I was like, oh my gosh, we are going to win. So I met the staffer, and I talked to Obama volunteer, the leader there, she moved in our house. I said, honey, can we move the Obama staffer here because she needs a place to stay? And we gave it our all. We worked extremely hard. I was responsible for 4 precincts, and we just had a lot of fun doing all the stuff we did. And we built a team, 65 of us, that became really, really good friends. So even though we didn't win Pasco, we really made a big impact and decreased the difference. The time before 2008, we had lost by 20,000, and in 2008, the difference was only 5,000 votes. Wow. So Pasco knows that we're on board. We better win Pasco this time. So after that, I was asked if I would consider running for office, and I told my husband, I said, well, you know what they said, that maybe I should run for office, and I had no idea what really that was all about. And I thought, oh, okay. They're like, you think you can raise like $10,000? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I probably could do that. But I had no idea what a campaign was like, and but I gave it my all. And we worked really hard. We set up a team. I knew about volunteers. I knew how to canvass. I knew how to make phone calls. So while we didn't win, Will Weatherford learned a few things from me. We're neighbors. We won 36% of the vote. He had $1 million. I had 50,000. We canvassed over 16,000 homes. And we did more than 15,000 phone calls. So we know about grassroots. And so that's why I'm super volunteer for Barack Obama. Because President Obama has done so much for us. Every day when I wake up, I ask myself, what am I going to do for the president? And I really truly mean it, because to me, we have no time to lose. This election is so unprecedented. This is the president that's like us. This is the president that truly understands, because he shares our values, because he came from a single mom, and he went to school, and he worked hard, and he's been working hard every single day. I mean, I know that it's not just that I'm just totally committed to him just because I'm just committed to him because he really represents us, and he's fighting for us every single day. So I owe it to him. And I encourage each one of you to just take a little bit of time. And I'll share a few little things that I do. I involve the youth. The youth really makes a difference. And I have this young girl that makes phone calls for me. And maybe, nobody likes making phone calls. They're really bad. But I'll give you a good side of phone banking. You only reach 20% of the people. So if you call 40, you're only going to get just like maybe 10. Okay? So you're probably going to have 3 mean ones. But you just got to let it roll. Just let it roll. Just go, have a good day. And say whatever, because there might be that one person that you call. And when it's canvassing, I'll give you good news about canvassing. I know it's hard. I live in Florida. Last week we did 195 homes for President Obama. But the good thing is people are less mean when you're right in their front door. Even if they tell you, no, don't want that, thank you, that's all they would say. On the phone, they're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I really got to go because I have a lot of calls to make. So don't take it personal. And really, really commit that if you just make 30 minutes of phone calls once a week from your house in the website, it really makes a difference. At the end of the day, when I started back in September, it was just a team of me, and then I started talking to my other team, and by January, we have made more than 10,000 phone calls. So it's really a big thing. And if you think that just a little bit of time will make a difference, yes, it does. And when you're knocking on doors, to me, there's 2 different things about canvassing. When you're canvassing, some people like policies. Other people connect with you because they like what you have to say. Like when I'm knocking on someone's door and we're talking about health care, I tell them how happy I am that my 24-year-old is on my health care bill. It's on my insurance. And so then if it wasn't because of the new Obama Cares Act, my son wouldn't have health insurance today because he hasn't been able to find a job. So when I'm talking to seniors, I tell them that I really like the Health Care Act because my father, because of the closure on the donut hole, gets like $123 more every month that he could use for food. So that is really significant, and that is priceless. Those instances, the little young girl I take canvassing with me, her father passed away, her mom works at a daycare, so she totally needs those student loans to be affordable because our country needs her to get an education so that she can achieve great things in this country. So I ask you to commit to helping, regardless of what you do. You can do it from your home. You can make some phone calls in the office. You can canvass. You can talk to your friends. But together, we can achieve these great things that we must achieve because our president has to get reelected. And each one of us has the ability to really make a difference. So I urge you to really do it. Give it your all for the president. He deserves it. And I'm going to share something really special. I have something really special, and so I will just share it for you. So whenever I'm tired or whatever, I always go back to this, and it really makes me go back to work. Oh.